The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine. Let's compare. Let's debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Big news this morning from the Supreme Court of the United States. They ruled against a challenge to the Food and Drug Administration regulatory approval process of the abortion drug mifepristone. This in the latest abortion case since the landmark 2022 decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. It is being called a victory for the Biden administration and abortion rights supporters. The High Court gave a unanimous decision that challengers to the FDA lacked standing to sue the government. There is a report on this, comes to us from NBC News. This was their breaking news coverage earlier this morning. Take a look.
Breaking news out of the Supreme Court, big implications for reproductive rights. The justices unanimously right now upholding changes to regulations regarding the abortion pill, mifepristone. But it says that they can stay on the market as is. There was a challenge by a group of doctors who asked the court to restrict access. I'm joined now by Laura Jarrett, our senior legal correspondent, as well as Danny Savalos. So this is a case that was tossed out essentially on technicality or the issue of standing, whether this group of doctors had standing, had the right to sue. And the bottom line is this expanded access in 2016 and 2021 for the abortion pill mifepristone, that expanded access can stay as is.
Yeah, so let's back up just a little bit. This was a group filed by essentially anti-abortion advocates and doctors who wanted to take the pill off the market completely. It's been winding its way through the federal courts for the better part of a year now. But here the High Court has said that it was going to stay on the market as is. In other words, no change to the pill. The most urgent piece of this was whether the pill would be unavailable by mail, which has been a huge thing. And obviously, it's the most commonly used pill in the entire country. And that would have been a huge restriction. But today, the court saying they don't even need to reach that issue because the group that sued doesn't have standing. That means they don't have the legal right to sue. These were people who didn't want to use the pill. These are doctors who never wanted to prescribe the pill. These were people who just objected to it and said that the FDA didn't do enough to look at the safety issues around the drug. By the way, the FDA says the drug is incredibly safe and has very little side effects. The court doesn't need to reach that issue because of the standing. And it would have had enormous implications, not just for the abortion pill, which is so widely used, but for every FDA-approved drug. That's why the Biden administration was fighting so hard to keep it on the market. So we're going to work our way through the decision, but we should mention it is unanimous.
Yeah, so this is in 2000, this pill was approved by the FDA, but in 2016, Danny, and in 2021, the Biden administration expanded access. So you didn't have to go to the doctor personally 3 times and so forth. And then, as Laura mentioned, made it available via telehealth in 2021. The court did not reach the merits of the FDA's decision, simply stating that this group of doctors who sued did not have the legal right to sue.
Standing is a constitutional requirement. It really asks the question, does the plaintiff have any business or any real interest in this outcome? Can the court even offer relief to this plaintiff? Or is this plaintiff just somebody, a citizen who just cares about something, but it doesn't really affect them? And it really answered a very interesting question, which was posed by the plaintiffs, which is, well, if we don't have standing, what if nobody has standing? What if nobody can ever challenge FDA in court like this? This came up at oral argument, which was, I would say, mostly devoted to the issue of standing more than the merits. And what's an interesting conclusion by the court in this opinion is that there will be times when nobody has standing to challenge something like FDA. And the solution may not be the courts. The solution may be the political process or some other avenue, maybe even internal review by FDA itself. But a very interesting holding within this opinion is that sometimes there is no standing to challenge an FDA action or something else.
So if you don't like it, you may have to petition Congress to do something about it.
Yeah, that's the problem. The problem is the FDA has, with this decision, created a little place, a safe place, if you will, where they can do anything they want and not be challenged. Now, does that circumstance occur? Well, think about COVID. Think about how COVID, when the FDA was standing up saying you can't do this and you can't do that, and nobody could challenge their decision making. What if that happens again? Well, this is a serious problem. And it's a serious problem that is going to require a certain level of, shall we say, thinking and indeed a legislative solution. Now, think about the legislation that we have seen in the last, I don't know, give it 20 years. Do these people, honestly, in Congress, do you believe they have the interests of the people of the United States in mind, or the interests of the particular party they are a part of in mind? This is all important, because if indeed, as I suspect, there is a ruling class, a movement toward establishing an all-powerful U.S. government for the sake of political power only, then what do we do when there is no challenge? That obviates the three parts of American government. It obviates the opportunity for people to seek redress against their government. And is that something that we truly want to do? I would say no. I would say that it would be a remarkably bad idea that would create untold chaos in these United States. That's what I believe. I believe indeed that once again we've created a mess here that is going to visit itself upon us. And I'm not happy about it. Now, the chances of that happening, okay, let's discuss the realities of it. The chances of it happening, are they real? The idea that the FDA could make a decision that would be unchallengeable in a courtroom, that's probably not something that we really have to consider. And the reason is because with all that being said, there still is a process that can be swayed by the people of the United States. We saw that during COVID. The FDA and the National Institute of Health came out with these brave pronouncements and said, you will do this and you will do that. And people just, after a time, just said no. People lost their jobs. People lost their careers. People lost their standing in the community because they would not take the injections, because this was the way to stop the spread. Remember? And so people took these injections to be able to save their jobs, to be able to maintain their livelihoods. And then what ended up happening is that suddenly we find out that no, taking these injections doesn't stop the spread. Pfizer says, oh no, we never tested that. Sure, they tested it. Their vaccine wouldn't stop the spread. Then people who took the injections then got COVID after taking the injections. So just exactly what were those injections? If the FDA now has a safe place where it can make decisions under those circumstances and no one can challenge them, is the FDA trustable in anything? You know, people talk about vaccine resistance. Well, if you don't know what they're injecting into you, just exactly what are you supposed to do? You know, there are people that brag about not having these injections. I'm not one of them. I took the injections. I took the series of 2, and I took a booster. When the other booster came around, I said, no, thanks. But the thing about it is, I still wonder to this day what was injected into me by the government of the United States using what was absolutely unconstitutional societal and legal pressure. I want to know what they injected into me. I wonder if it was something that's going to do me harm. There are an awful lot of people that are on various social medias talking about, okay, so this person dropped dead suddenly, healthy, happy, all of a sudden gone. Blood clots this, aneurysms that, cancer cases attributed to the disease or to the injections. Now, are a lot of these things real? Probably not. People do die under weird circumstances. I feel fine. I don't have, I mean, I get checked out. I get checked out a lot, and I'm doing fine. But now what we have is we have a foothold to not be able to challenge a federal agency that can and will and has imposed itself on your life. That's where we stand with this decision. And it was 9-0. So obviously, the justices all agreed on the merits, or actually the particles. Particles is the wrong word. The specifics of the case. They all agreed that there was no standing here. Okay, that's reasonable. But what's the outcome? This gets back to my idiot legalist savant theory, where people wouldn't know what to do unless it was written down in a book, and they become the most successful lawyers and jurists in the country and thus rise to the Supreme Court, but they still don't know what to do because life eludes them. They spent their entire life looking into a book. Now, these people are smarter than that, up to a point. Yeah, okay, this is a fine decision. It makes sense. I even agree with it. I don't think that mifepristone should be off the market. I believe that the test of all of this is one of character, not of medicine. And I believe that people should have the opportunity to do whatever it is they think is the right thing for them and their life without interference from other people on moral, even societal backgrounds. You can't tell people how to live. God gave us free agency. We can certainly extend that free agency to each other, can't we? And so this is a test of character. There will be people who take this drug that mourn that decision for the rest of their lives. That's on them. That's on them. People get to make their own decisions. You can disagree up to a point where you become obnoxious and counterproductive to your own agreement or own argument. But you need to leave these people alone. So I agree with the decision. I'm concerned about the outcome and the future of it, the unintended consequences. And so I don't really have any problems with what the court has done, and I hope that they continue this. I have to say, 9-0 rulings, 9-0 rulings are good. I mean, it may not necessarily work out to your particular advantage, but when the court is united, when the court sees things the same way, that's a good thing. You have 9 different minds. You have 9 different people with their experiential set regarding the Constitution of the United States. And they see things the same way. That should happen more often, not less often. We've seen the court split itself along ideological, political lines. That's always destructive, don't you think? Don't you think? This is the Wells Report. Thanks very much for joining us. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. Then, of course, there are political morons that have trouble with the current court and are doing whatever they possibly can to try to change it. As they say, rein in what they call a rogue court. Gosh. Can I smell leftism? And with that leftism comes Rankin and AOC. Is that right? Yeah, we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes on the Wells Report. Stick around. Thanks for being here.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells thanking you very much for being a part of our broadcast. Telephone number 817-379-2172. We've got people on the chat room this morning. We want to invite you to do the same thing. Go to the chat option on the platform nearest you. By the way, while we're talking about this, if you find value in this broadcast, please share it with your friends. Subscribe to it. Have them subscribe to it. Like the notification button so you know when we're on the air in outside the times we normally broadcast, which would be 11 to 1 p.m., 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then, of course, give us those thumbs ups. Those thumbs ups are statistically watched and truly help us out. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez drives me crazy. Said in an interview with Jamie Raskin, who is the Democrat from Maryland, that they will be introducing legislation to, quote, rein in a fundamentally unaccountable and rogue Supreme Court. Oh, really? Yeah, really. They're kind of serious about it. This legislation, of course, is going absolutely nowhere. But we can take a look at it, and equally, unfortunately, on this, we have an NBC report on it, and the guy who's doing it is kind of tedious. I don't know his name, but he drives me crazy whenever I see his face. And there are 3 faces in this report that may indeed destroy the screen on your computer, but that's just the way it goes. Take a look at this report from NBC.
What were you trying to do today?
Well, the oversight Democrats wanted to respond to the national clamor over this crisis of legitimacy at the Supreme Court. And so we analyzed the ethics crisis. We analyzed the political crisis around confirmations that got us into this, and the blockaded confirmations of people like Merrick Garland, who was nominated by President Obama to the court. And then we began to talk about what sorts of things could be done, both in the specific case of Justices Alito and Thomas, and then generally about the ethical collapse at the Supreme Court. It's the highest court in the land with the lowest ethical standards. These are the only governmental officials in the land who are not governed by a binding ethics code. There's no process by which we can hold any of them accountable. And so it violates the essential principle that James Madison identified as the heart of our justice system, which is that no man can be a judge in his own cause. So we began to, explore different avenues of holding them accountable.
Yeah, Congresswoman, you said something towards the end of the hearing, just saying that it just cannot be the case as sort of a constitutional matter, as an almost intuitive common sense matter, that they are not subject to any checks, right? We have 3 co-equal branches. There's checks and balances that move between the 3 directions. And the position which Justice Alito has actually taken on the record, he actually said in a Wall Street Journal interview that Congress has no ability to regulate us whatsoever. What should Congress be doing? What are you brainstorming, basically? Like, what's the conversation about what those checks can be?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, Justice Alito's position is laughable in this idea that he can be and that the court should be accountable to nobody, and that the only person that they should be accountable to are themselves. This kind of Scouts promise sort of setup for how we should be having ethics standards for the highest and most consequential court in the land. It is completely unacceptable. And not only is it unacceptable, but to have any one of our co-equal branches be completely unaccountable to the others is paving the path to authoritarianism, tyranny, the abuse of power in the United States. And it is structurally completely unsustainable. And so it is not a question of if Congress has jurisdiction and power over the Supreme Court. It is what power are we going to exercise in order to rein in a fundamentally unaccountable and rogue court.
Okay, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring the Supreme Court of the United States under the purvey of the left. And that is ridiculous insofar as the left has always used the judicial branch to bend the will of American policy to their own. And now to attack the very court is biting the hand that feeds them in a way that hopefully will be disastrous to that cause. This is the Wells Report, back in just a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. Good morning. I'm John David Wells. We bring you news, analysis, commentary, and debate. That is what we do. So I want to read something to you. This has something to do with what we have been facing over the last several or decade or so. And that is that women are being harassed and taking it to courts for all kinds of reasons. This happening in the workplace. Today's example comes from SpaceX. And I need your help on this. So remember this number, 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. Rocket maker SpaceX and its CEO Elon Musk have been sued by 8 engineers who say they were illegally fired for raising concerns about alleged sexual harassment and discrimination against women. The engineers, 4 women and 4 men, claim that Elon Musk ordered their firing in 2022 after they circulated a letter calling the billionaire, quote, a distraction and embarrassment, unquote, and urged executives to disavow sexually charged comments he made on social media. The lawsuit was filed in state court in Los Angeles. The lawsuit says that Musk's conduct fostered, quote, a pervasive sexist culture, unquote, at SpaceX, where female engineers were routinely subjected to harassment and sexist comments, and their concern about the workplace culture were ignored. Quote, these actions had the foreseeable and actual result of offending, causing distress, and intruding upon plaintiffs' well-being so as to disrupt their emotional tranquility in the workplace, unquote. SpaceX did not immediately respond to a request for comment. SpaceX has, however, denied wrongdoing, saying the 2022 letter was disruptive. The workers were properly fired for violating company policies. Paige Holland Phelan, one of the plaintiffs, said in a statement provided by her lawyers that Wednesday's lawsuit is an attempt to hold SpaceX leadership accountable and spur changes in workplace policies. We hope that this lawsuit encourages our colleagues to stay strong and to keep fighting for a better workplace. The 8 engineers are already the focus of a U.S. National Labor Relations Board case, claiming their filings violated their rights under U.S. labor law to advocate for better working conditions. SpaceX filed a lawsuit claiming the Labor Board's in-house enforcement proceedings violate the U.S. Constitution. A U.S. appeals court last month paused the NLRB case while it considers SpaceX's bid to block it from moving forward pending the outcome of the company's lawsuit. Yesterday's lawsuit accuses SpaceX and Musk of retaliation and wrongful termination in violation of California law, and further accuses the company of sexual harassment and sex discrimination. The plaintiffs are seeking unspecified compensatory and punitive damages and an order barring SpaceX from continuing to engage in its allegedly lawful conduct. Now, you look at this situation and you say, okay, these people were upset by posts on X by Elon Musk. They circulated a letter in the company that called to question sexual harassment in the workplace. And the disruption was the basis for their terminations, according to SpaceX. So what's happening here is that we have a lawsuit based on Elon Musk's own free speech rights to be able to say what he chooses to say on X. Now, I've been an X member. I'm one of those verified guys with the blue circle and the check. I watch what Elon Musk says every day, and I have been doing so for years. I follow him on X. And I haven't seen sexist comments. I've seen tongue-in-cheek comments. I've seen sarcastic comments. I've seen brilliantly funny comments from Elon Musk. But what I have not seen are overt or even not overt sexist comments on his posts ever. So what are these people doing? Well, they're trying to disrupt SpaceX, which was the basis of their firing in the first place. So those are the basic situations of the case. And we've seen this time and time again where disaffected workers, particularly female, believe that they are being sexually harassed in the workplace, and they end up in court suing their employers. So what I'm asking in this conversation is for a solution. How do you solve what could be an intractable problem with females in the workplace becoming offended by their interaction with their male coworkers, or sometimes, I guess, their female coworkers? And also, what about men in the workplace being sexually harassed as well? What do we do about all this? Well, here's what I'm thinking. If you're running a multi-billion-dollar corporation, do you separate men and women in the workplace? Do you have a woman's section over here where female engineers, et cetera, work on their own, absent any kind of male interaction? Do you create essentially a women's room? Very much like a women's restroom where men are not welcome. Do we do that in all of our corporations? In other words, do we set women aside over here so that they don't interact with men because we're concerned that the men will somehow offend these women? Do we set them apart? I frankly don't think that that's a bad idea because these lawsuits are expensive. Hundreds of thousands of dollars will be spent by SpaceX defending itself from this. And so if women cannot be flirted with, if women cannot even be interacted with because of the risk of them feeling like they're sexually harassed, what is the solution? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Well, the obvious solution is to segregate men and women. Have the women's section over here, have the men's section over here. And never the twain shall meet. Does that make sense? What would be the next complaint? What would be the next complaint? I watched a movie which I thought was inspiring and wonderful and amazing. And that movie was Hidden Figures, where the women that were African American women were involved in NASA and indeed were computers. In other words, they computed the math required to be able to send men and women into space. It was all men at that point. And arguably, that was the model that we may have to revisit to be able to stop this male-female interaction in the workplace, which is upsetting the girls. So that segregation was based on race, what I'm talking about. And these brilliant people, these women, eventually were welcomed into the NASA family, but it took a very long time. But the model of men working over here and making the engineering decisions and so on and so forth, and women in a separate space, albeit because of racism, but still, they're in a separate space working, led to the successful flight of John Glenn as portrayed in that film. So, is there a problem with this? Should we set up separate male-female workplaces so that females are not in a position where they could be exposed to somebody saying something that is sexist? And then there's something else. It talks a little bit in this lawsuit about the tranquility of the workplace. Let me see if I can find this back here. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. These actions, this is from the lawsuit, speaking about the sexual harassment of these females, and some males were a part of it as well. These actions had the foreseeable and actual result of offending, causing distress, and intruding upon plaintiffs' well-being so as to disrupt their emotional tranquility in the workplace. Is the workplace a place where there should be emotional tranquility? Does the company that you work for have to have policies that establish your personal emotional tranquility? You know, I have worked my whole life. And emotional tranquility was the very last thing that any professional organization that I was a part of cared about. I mean, it's just not a part of reality. How would you manage a group of people where it was essential that you provide them emotional tranquility in the workplace? Everybody has a different way to access emotional tranquility. It's all separate. They're all different. What drives someone crazy doesn't necessarily drive anybody else crazy. It doesn't infringe on their emotional tranquility at the workplace. Everybody has their own version of it. How in heaven's name would you be able to provide that in a workplace? The answer is you wouldn't be able to. And so what you end up with is you end up with these kinds of lawsuits. And remember, as far as we know, none of these comments occurred, at least based on this lawsuit and this particular article from USA Today. None of these comments happened in the workplace. They happened from Elon Musk on X, where he is saying what he's saying. He is an iconoclast. I mean, he has, okay, for want of a better description, F-U money. He can do what he chooses. It's his company. And the company that he's running, SpaceX, is somehow, in my view, separate from X. X is a place of free speech. We come right back again to this idea that a country founded on free speech can simply not have it. And if they do have it, then they are subject to immediate legal remedy, complaint, lawsuit, etc. So what is happening here is this is an impossible situation. It is an impossible situation for SpaceX. And what we keep doing is we keep attacking free speech. Like social media, hate social media, whatever it is. Social media is indeed protected by free speech in the First Amendment. It is also, in my view, required to honor the Constitution that brings free speech to the fore. You cannot amend, shadow ban, outright block free speech on a social media platform. You can't do it. It's unconstitutional. You can like this stuff or not like this stuff, but this is what free speech looks like. Being able to say what you want to say. This is what it looks like. And some of it's absolutely repugnant. There is no doubt about it. Absolutely repugnant. And yeah, some of the things that you read will indeed mess with your emotional tranquility. But your choice is to not read all of this. In other words, I believe that it's not the company's purvey. It is not the company's actual mission to provide you with emotional tranquility. You must provide emotional tranquility for yourself. And you do that by turning away. On this broadcast, there are times when there are stories where, for example, a woman kills all of her children. And I move on from those unless it is absolutely essential that I report those stories. I just don't let them in my head. The depravity of the border, for example, and the things there, I don't report those unless it's absolutely required. And the reason I don't do that is because I don't want that stuff in my head. I've got enough stuff in my head regarding the border. I don't want any more. That does not mean I don't report the news honestly and fairly. What it does mean is I make an editorial decision that where misfortune is concerned, where someone does a heinous act against defenseless people, I will stay away from it unless the news insists or mandates that I cover those stories. So what I'm saying is if your in essential need is tranquility in the workplace, then you have to manage that tranquility yourself instead of depending on your company to do it, and certainly not depend on your company to do it and then be angry if they don't and then take them to court. I understand why these engineers were fired. They're disrupting the workplace with their own particular garbage. Am I wrong? Let me know.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low Cost Airlines.
With one call to Low Cost Airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
And good morning. Welcome to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. Should we segregate men and women in the workplace for the sake of emotional tranquility? Emotional tranquility in the workplace. Brad says, why is it that all it takes is an accusation to cost one tens of thousands of dollars to defend that accusation? And one, after proving one's innocence, proves the changes or charges and accusations had no merit in the first place. They have no resource to recover their expenditure, especially pertaining to the government. Can't sue the government, but you can sue SpaceX because your emotional tranquility was trampled on in the workplace. This is ridiculous. What's the check and balance? Well, the check and balance is to go to court. And the court has to be able to look at all of this and say, okay, we'll take the case, but more importantly, no, we won't take the case. Your emotional tranquility is disrupted not because of the workplace, but because you read on X. That's a voluntary act. You walk into the arena of free speech, you are bombarded by things that are distasteful. To try to then add them to the workplace experience as you have at SpaceX is preposterous. You know, this is where you got to have judges that have what is basic common sense. So Americans across the country are dealing with the situation involved in Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was found guilty of three felonies. Okay. And his felonies are, they're serious. Americans are reacting. And what is that reaction? Well, in point of fact, the reaction is, hey, we believe in the justice system and justice was served. And indeed, no one is above the law. And that's okay. I don't have any problem with that up to a point. But it is something that we deal with on a regular basis. So people challenge the courts all the time, but you're challenging one of the basic situations, one of the basic hallmarks of American law. Now, the problem with that is we have seen American law twisted to a political necessity. A political idea is now pervasive in, say, for example, the DOJ and certainly the FBI. And when all of this happens, what you have is chaos. And so people question the judicial process more and more and more as more political decisions are made, as opposed to legal decisions. This can be applied to the courts of the land, indeed the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of the United States, under attack at this particular moment by leftist crazy people, we find them calling for changes in the court. We find that we simply must put ourselves in a position where the judicial branch is controlled by the legislative branch, because the judicial branch just simply has too much power. So Americans across the country are speaking on it. They are reacting. Rhonda, a self-described conservative voter from Washington State, said the verdict hadn't changed her decision to vote against President Biden. I'm happy, she said, speaking with Fox News. I think justice is definitely served. Rhonda added she wouldn't want to be put in the position of deciding whether to pardon her own son, which President Biden said he would not do. Well, he does have another option. He can commute that sentence. He probably will. I think as a father, it could be a very hard decision, more than as a president. If it were my child, I would want to do everything I possibly could to help them. It would be a tough spot. I wouldn't want to have to make that decision. Let's see. Chad said that he's inclined to support President Biden in November because of the alternative, noting that it's his son's behavior, not his. I don't think he probably should or will. I would think he wants to keep his nose clean for politics with regards to a pardon for Hunter Biden. Brian, a Maryland native, was not surprised by the verdict. He admitted to it, so it is what it is. Brian said he would not put it past President Biden to go back on his word and pardon his son, adding that he didn't support him or anyone else running in 2024. It's his son. It's family. An undecided voter in Knoxville, Tennessee, who is leaning away from the current administration, told Fox News that Hunter Biden should suffer consequences. Do the crime, do the time, noting that he doesn't think it received the same media attention as former President Donald Trump's New York criminal trial. The presumptive GOP nominee was convicted last month on 34 felony charges of falsifying business documents. And so it's what I consider to be a very even response. I think that's good. I think that speaks well of just about everybody, including those who happen to believe otherwise from a standpoint of politics. Hey, the situation is this. Here is where we are. We either have a judicial system that works based on law, or we have an unworking judicial system that destroys the country based on politics. I believe that this was a clean case. The prosecutor was a Democrat. The prosecutor was appointed by another Democrat, Merrick Garland, and the jury had their say, and I believe ruled wisely on this one. What do you think? This is the Wells Report. Thanks for being a part of this broadcast. We'll be back with hour number 2 coming up in just a couple of moments for this Thursday, June 13th, year of our Lord 2024. Yeah, it's a good day. Back in just a couple of moments.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship.
Call 877-655-6870. That's 877-655-6870. 877-655-6870.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. What do we do on this broadcast? We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We de-propagandize the American media because someone has to. We bring you the facts. What you do with them is your business, not anyone else's. We also make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine, not news. And so we compare those opinions. We debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So Brad is one of the people on the chat room. And what he's doing is going to the Wayback Machine. Every time he watches the Discount Airline commercial, my brain loops back to Hudson and Landry, a very famous morning duo on radio of years past in Houston, Texas. Hudson and Landry, very funny. And they're also a comedy team. Ajax Airlines, the proud bird with the cast iron tail. It's on YouTube. It's hilarious. By all means, check out Hudson and Landry. They're always very, very good. I wonder what happened to those guys. I hope they're all right and well. Thanks very much for that blast of the past, Brad. I appreciate it. So this broadcast reported in trembling fashion, not because I was afraid, but because I was angry, that 8 ISIS-K terrorists had been arrested in cities around the United States after crossing the southern border illegally, and indeed being vetted by the Department of Homeland Security. Well, apparently that happens a lot more than has been reported. This from Fox News. A concerning new report from the Department of Homeland Security Inspector General concluded DHS has not been effectively screening and vetting non-citizens and asylum seekers entering the United States. This is from the Inspector General, which means that this is a report that is at least 3 months old, probably more like 6 months old. So for the last 6 months or so, the Inspector General has been looking at the Department of Homeland Security's vetting process, and they find stunning weaknesses in it. The report was obtained by Fox News' Bill Melugin, showed the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency cannot access all federal data to complete thorough screening and vetting of those seeking entry into the United States. Let me say that again. The report, obtained by Fox News' Bill Melugin, showed that U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP agents, cannot access all federal data to complete thorough screening and vetting of those seeking entry into the United States. I want to know why. I want to know why the CBP cannot get all the data on these people crossing the southern border. I want to know right now. I want the people responsible for blocking this information from the CBP to be fired forthwith. You know why? Because there's only one reason why the CBP can't access all this data. It's because the Department of Homeland Security doesn't want them to have all this data. Therefore, the Department of Homeland Security is not the DHS, it's the DHI. the Department of Homeland Insecurity. How in God's name did it make sense to anybody at the DHS to withhold information from CBP, supposedly vetting people who are being just thrown into the American populace? The Department of Homeland Security very famously broke down all the walls of intel and communication between the FBI, which is the domestic national police, and the CIA and other intelligence agencies responsible for investigation outside the United States. That's what it was famously created to do, to break down all these things so we wouldn't have another evil 9/11. Well, guess what? That's not happening. The southern border is wide open. The greasy assurances by the DHS and specifically Alejandro Mayorkas, belied by reality on videotape that is sent around the country. And so the Department of Homeland Security is engineering the importation of, in this particular case, ISIS-K terrorists. That's what they're doing. That's the way it looks to me. How about you? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Why would the CBP agents working their butts off on the border to try to make sure that they're not letting in the next Osama bin Laden have trouble getting information from Department of Homeland Security? It's because the DHS doesn't want them to have it. That's why they don't get it. That's why they don't have access to that data. So what is the Department of Homeland Security doing? It looks to me like they are covering up terrorists coming to the United States. And they are allowing them to be moved into the interior of the United States to set up shop. Indeed, these 8 ISIS-K terrorists that were just identified and arrested, they were identified and arrested because they were talking about bomb making. ISIS-K famously went into a theater in Moscow and slaughtered everybody they could shoot. Everybody. That was ISIS-K. So what do these people think that they were planning to do in the United States? Something very similar to that, I'm sure. And so are you. The Department of Homeland Security may have been a very, very good idea in 2001. The Patriot Act created it. It was designed to be a clearinghouse of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. But as I keep saying, politics ruins everything. And so the DHS has been ruined. And it costs us, I don't know. Let's go ahead and take a look. You know, I'm venturing in, let's see, DHS yearly funding. This is going to hurt. This is going to hurt. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is great. The Department of Homeland Security, which is withholding information on terrorists at the southern border from the CBP, gets $185.28 billion every year or thereabouts. So for $185.28 billion, don't you think we ought to have an agency that does exactly what they're supposed to do? Don't you think we should have an agency that actually protects the homeland, especially when its name is the Department of Homeland Security? Don't you think they ought to actually protect us as opposed to covering up the terrorist background of people trying to cross the border because they won't let the CBP see all the data? Now, you may hear this story. You may hear this story bandied about in the mainstream media. You may be able to do it. But, the very simple situation is that the story that I just talked about is the one that's the most cogent. That the Department of Homeland Security is covering up for terrorists crossing the border. And you're saying, John David, you're applying intent. True. I am implying intent. Somebody made a decision that CBP did not have a need to know to see all that data, so they classified it. Who is that person? Who is that person in the DHS that saw fit to just say, no, we're not going to give them that data? Comes down to one person, two or three. What if that one person, two or three, are also ISIS-K terrorists? What if that's happening? Since the entire Department of Homeland Security can't vet people to the point where we don't have bona fide terrorists wandering around in the country talking about bomb making, how about the vetting of their own people? I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this on the 13th day of June, year of our Lord 2024, at 12:10 p.m. in the afternoon. Somebody at the Department of Homeland Security is working for the other side, the terror side. If that is the case, and I believe it now is because we've actually seen a glimmer, a little slice of evidence that they're covering up for certain terror actors walking across the border, then just exactly how many others have made it? I'm saying that there is a mole from the international terrorist infrastructure inside DHS. Right this minute. Working today. And you're saying, you're just, you keep saying, John, you're not a conspiracy theorist, but you know what? I'm not talking about conspiracy. I'm talking about putting the dots together. There are people at the Department of Homeland Security that are taking advantage of the southern border. It's not just politicians. There are actors in the DHS working to engineer another 9/11 attack on this country. And we know that's true because there's data being withheld from CBP to vet the people crossing the border. What other reason could there possibly be? What other reason could the Department of Homeland Security logically come to justify withholding vetting data from the CBP? I don't see that there is anything that justifies this. Except somebody at Department of Homeland Security wants to see a terror attack of the magnitude of the Moscow theater blowout here in the U.S. or worse. At the end of the day, you got to decide whether or not the entire agency is corrupt or whether it can be saved. Can it be saved? All you're going to do is replace some politicians with some other politicians. Are they going to be able to actually right the ship at the Department of Homeland Security? Mayorkas is not the guy to do it. Mayorkas was impeached by the United States House. And then, of course, the actual removal from office went nowhere in the U.S. Senate. And that takes us to the political process that is the true moving prime mover of an open border in the United States. Leftists in the United States legislature refuse to have a secure border because they believe it benefits them politically. That's monstrous. And yeah, maybe it's treason. So why aren't we doing anything about it? I know the answer to that question. Because it's not November 5th yet. We better do that forthwith.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. Okay, you know the Sesame Street, you know, well, you don't want to waste a good phenomenon. You just don't. So UAPs, stuff flying over the United States. And the Department of Energy, for some reason, has something to do with all of that. Don't ask me why the Department of Energy has it when it probably should be, oh, I don't know, the FAA? Don't ask me why. But Secretary Granholm of the Department of Energy was talking with Anna Paulina Luna. And Congresswoman Luna, aside from having a very musical and rhythmic name, got some very interesting information from the secretary. Take a look at this.
classified materials from around the 40s and 50s. And so they weren't just being reported as drones back then. And I encourage you to look over those materials because I think that you guys should be upgrading that program to cover down on UAPs. There have been documented sightings of metallic spheres over DOE facilities, if you want to call them drones in this instance, such as one report on April 30th, 2019 over LLNL. What investigations have been conducted in regards to these sightings, and what conclusions do you guys have about the nature and origins of these objects?
I'm happy to follow up with you on that.
Okay, we'll be submitting also too for public record some questions after this, if you could please answer those. Considering the DOE's involvement in nuclear and sensitive research facilities, how does the DOE coordinate with agencies like the Department of Defense and AARO to investigate UAP sightings?
We obviously are teamed with the Department of Defense because of our national security and nuclear mission.
Are you able to cite any specific investigations or shared data analysis efforts?
I don't have information on that.
Okay. As of right now, again, we'll be submitting some questions for you after this, but I hope that you guys can answer those in a timely fashion. And again, for those that might be tuning into this, I would encourage you to look at some of those unclassified materials, and we'll be happy to provide your office with that. I'll just follow up by one other question, I guess, to close it out. Does the DOE currently work with JSOC in order to handle security measures?
We work with all of the security entities around the federal government. We're part of an overall all-of-government effort on both cyber as well as national security.
Do you guys work with JSOC? Yes or no?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, ma'am.
All right. So the DOE is working with JSOC. We were just talking about the Department of Homeland Security breaking down communications barriers around there. However, the circumstance goes like this. All through that interview, Anna Paulina Luna, the Republican from Florida, hit Granholm with a lot of very serious rapid-fire questions. Her answers were, I have no knowledge, yes, and so on and so on. The exchange between Luna and Granholm was about 5 minutes of a 2.5-hour Congressional Oversight Committee hearing May 23rd. That last question, does the DOE work with JSOC, the Joint Special Operations Command? It raised eyebrows and created a buzz on social media. Granholm danced around the question at first, but Luna repeated the inquiry and demanded a yes or no answer. And then she finally said, yes, we do. Investigative journalist and leading UFO expert Jeremy Corbell said this was a bold move by Congress. JSOC is a military task force under the command of U.S. Special Operations Command and executes special operations missions. If the DOE is working with UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, with JSOC, that means that JSOC is operating within the continental boundaries of the United States of America, and that violates the Constitution. And that's just the beginning. JSOC is likely hardcore involved with a crash retrieval program under the authority of CIA. And so DOE, the Department of Energy, having to admit they work for JSOC is a big deal on a lot of different points. Secretary Granholm did not like having to admit that. Yeah. By the way, JSOC denies these allegations and implications. Fox News reached out for JSOC. And of course, JSOC's not going to say anything to them. This is the Wells Report, back in just a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. What we are watching in the United States is an anti-Semitic, which is the sanitized term for ragged, horrifying, terrible, anti-Jewish bigotry. We are seeing it on our college campuses. The Hamas-Israeli or conflict is essentially triggering all of this anti-Jewish bigotry in these United States. And it's getting worse. Let me tell you a couple of stories here. First, the New York police arrested a heavily armed man who was pulled over for a traffic stop in Queens and reportedly shared extremist views online. Judd Sanson, he's 27 years old, was arrested on multiple illegal weapons charges after police recovered a Glock, 9 loaded magazines, heavy body armor, handcuffs, NYPD uniform items, 2 axes, multiple knives, a stun gun, a weighted whip, and a propane burner in his car. Members of this department make gun arrests, weapons arrests, arrests for knives every day, but an arrest of this magnitude, the amount of ammunition, NYPD paraphernalia, and in the car was significant. What I want to do is I want to show you this picture, and it's instructive. Take a look at this. You see all of this, the axe and the machetes and knives and this, all of these 9mm magazines. The burner, that's a torture instrument, by the way, in case you're wondering. Then we have a New York Police Department body armor kit and a reflective vest that obviously, at least from my standpoint, looks like something that would, say, for example, get people to trust this person into the point where he would use all of these implements. Now, in case you're wondering, there were troubling messages, several of them, etched into a baton, including these words. This was etched into this baton that he was planning on, what, beating somebody with? I don't know. Quote, "You left me no choice. I am sorry. You're going to learn today." And then there was an Arabic word for "God forgive me." The report cited police sources who said Sanson allegedly expressed extremist views online. According to the NYPD, on Wednesday, officers observed the black Ford containing this guy. And I'll show you another picture. This is him. That's him right there. Judd Sanson, arrested on charges of criminal possession of a loaded firearm, 9 additional charges of criminal possession of weapon, 4 charges of unlawful possession of ammo feed devices, and 1 charge of having an obscured license plate. This guy was on his way to wreak mayhem somewhere. The suspect gave a Queens address as his residence, which the department is working to confirm. We will continue to investigate this incident. Our members are out there early in the morning, the wee hours, members of our public safety team, while many people were sleeping. I was sleeping. Our officers are out there to make sure that we're safe. And so these people that drive around in these cars with obscured license plates, they're being referred to as ghost cars, ghost vehicles. Deputy Commissioner Kaz Daughtry said that to date, NYPD has taken 683 ghost vehicles off the street this year, 2,875 vehicles with paper license plates. So let's move to this. This is unbelievably disturbing. These pro-Palestinian terrorists are now turning to some things from the past, specifically the Nazi past. What they are doing is identifying Jewish homes, people where Jews live, and putting a Hamas terror mark on their homes, very reminiscent of the Nazis forcing the Jews to wear yellow Stars of David. I want to show this to you. Check this out on the Wells Report. So all of this is happening. This is a Jewish person's home address. This is their home. And what you're seeing in these red triangles, you are seeing, indeed, you are seeing marked for death. That's what that triangle means. And yeah, people are investigating because they have to. There was an interesting tweet that I saw of a man teaching his very young daughter how to fire an assault weapon, or what's called an assault weapon. It was basically a pistol because she's small. She's very little. And the question asked was, is this too young for somebody to be trained in this? Or is this young girl too young? And I said, no, because there's Hamas USA. What if that little girl was Jewish? What if that little girl was the only one awake when the terror triangle was acted on her house. There are people out there that are willing to do these things. These arch criminals are willing to slaughter Jews for the sake of their religious conviction. Are we on the leading edge of the kind of terror we see in other countries, perpetrated by domestic terrorists, fired by the anti-Jewish bigotry that we're seeing on our college campuses? Is the United States being forced into an eerily reminiscent 30s Germany scenario where the Jews were marked for death and indeed slaughtered in the millions? Now, something like that wouldn't occur in the United States. But what we can say, and what we can see with our own eyes, is that this Hamas USA movement is now getting more and more virulent. And it's not something that we can expect to see happen like, say, for example, the 9/11 attacks. These are attacks, individual attacks by individual people acting as one, but not in a conspiracy. And these people will attack you personally. They're not going to fly a jet into your house. They're going to show up and start shooting. They're going to show up in a movie theater or a concert or a discotheque, some kind of nightclub, and they're going to start shooting. Right now, what we see all these anti-Jewish, pro-Hamas bigots standing up in all manner of public forums and flashing a kafir. That's that headscarf, that unique headscarf of the Palestinians. How long is it going to be before they show up in those kafirs with weapons, slaughtering as many Jews as they can find? Here in the United States, how long is it going to be? I bring this broadcast from the Fort Wells Keller Studios. There are families here that are Jewish in my neighborhood. And I have reached out to those saying, here's my telephone number. If something bad happens, call 911 and then call me, because I'll be right there. Because this is going to morph into a more personal terror war, where people are attacked individually. Indeed, this has happened in Dallas. There was an ill-conceived gathering of people that were cartooning the prophet. This infuriates Muslims all around the world. Why? Well, I'm not sure. We have renditions of Christ all over the place. Indeed, we also have renditions of what we believe God looks like. It doesn't necessarily bother any of us, but it sure does infuriate Muslims when they try to protect the image of the prophet from being, they would say, desecrated by people drawing the prophet. And so people in Arizona loaded up their car with implements of destruction, including rifles, and drove to Dallas, where they were confronted with a guy who was providing security, a single man with a .357 revolver, who, after seeing them unload the weapons, load them and get them ready for this blowaway of this particular gathering, shot them both in the head. One shot each. Boom, boom, done. Now, I have said that there are people in the United States that do not want to follow the rules of weaponry in their house. They don't want to pursue the security that comes with being able to defend yourself as prescribed by the Second Amendment and decisions surrounding that Second Amendment. There are a lot of people that don't want to do that, and I respect it. I respect that decision. So do me a favor. Join the next EMT class. Learn to be an emergency medical tech. Pursue it a little bit. Become a paramedic. Not because you want to ride an ambulance in the wee hours of the morning, but because at some point you might have to use all of that knowledge. I have that training. I'm not a paramedic. I'm not an EMT. I have military-based training that saves lives. Proud to have it. But I'm also willing to defend my neighbors. And indeed, should an inverse red triangle appear on my neighbor's house, I will be there guarding that property. And I will invoke as many people in the neighborhood to do the same. And people say, well, John David, how do you know this guy is Jewish? Well, he flies an Israeli flag. Well, that's an inducement. No, that's pride in Israel and his faith and his family's faith. And just as this country is based on religious freedom, it is worth defending. Not just by Jews, but by everyone. I will take my place in that phalanx. And so must you. All this would stop. The Nova Music Festival, filled with people without weapons to keep them safe, ended up being attacked, raped, mutilated, murdered, tortured. The picture of that woman being led to a Hamas vehicle with her hindquarters covered in blood can only invoke just exactly how did those wounds occur. I'm not going to describe it any further. But that was just part of that October 7th massacre. And we have those people here in this country. And a lot of them are being driven by decisions in Congress, by leftist crazy people, by people in the DHS withholding information from the CBP about vetting people coming across the border, by college campuses allowing anti-Jewish bigotry, when in my lifetime, and probably your lifetime too, we saw an absolute near revolution in these United States against racism. This was applied to African Americans in these United States. But now what we've seen the universities turn from trying to get rid of racism to using racism as a basis for anti-Jewish action. Here, just exactly what are our universities preaching to our children? This guy in New York is one of those lone wolves you've heard so much about. On his way to practice mayhem, death, torture, rape, whatever was in his mind. And there are more of them. And when disaster occurs, when you are visited by the wolf, you make a phone call, police are only minutes away. But your decision-making in the seconds when somebody blows through your house and starts shooting, well, those are seconds. You'd better learn how to defend yourself. And you'd better start thinking about defending your neighbors. This is the Wells Report.
Vallarta.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. So, Nathan Wade. Nathan Wade is a guy who was involved with Fani Willis, who was involved with Donald Trump in a racketeering trial that is currently on hold because of what is misconduct on the part of Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, or at least alleged misconduct. The CNN interview with former Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade was crazily put on pause the other day when a member of his team pulled him aside during the interview because he was asked from a CNN correspondent just exactly when his affair with Fani Willis began. It was quite a moment. So let's take a look at it here on the Wells Report, when suddenly Nathan Wade gets interrupted in the middle of a CNN interview by one of his friends.
When did the romantic relationship between the two of you start?
Yeah, so, you know, we get into, there's been this effort to say that, okay, these exact dates are at issue, and these exact dates are, I'm getting signaled here. No.
Yeah, take it. Do I go off mic for a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Keep rolling?
Keep rolling, don't stop down there.
So they said, don't stop rolling, and now they're having a sidebar. What are they talking about? What's going on here? You know, the linkage between Fani Willis and Nathan Wade has the hallmarks of a sweetheart deal involving over $500,000 of legal fees collected by Nathan Wade. So the interview, completely interviewed, and they start over. Smirk.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
Just to revisit the question, it was to clarify when the romantic relationship started and when it ended.
Sure. So, I believe that the public has, through the testimony and other interviews, the public has a clear snapshot that this is clearly just a distraction. It is not a relevant issue in this case. And I think that we should be focusing on more of the facts and the indictment in the case.
Yeah. So there must be something else. I suspect the person who was described as a political consultant was not a political consultant. I suspect that that person was a lawyer reminding Nathan Wade that he is in some form of legal jeopardy here. It's fascinating to me that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade obviously knew each other intimately. It is also equally obvious that there was some $650,000 in legal fees transferred to Nathan Wade, who was essentially in the intimate thrall of Fani Willis. And so when they start talking about how all of this began, there are certain legal implications that are beyond what I've just reported. Because you don't just don't stop an interview like that based on a question like that unless there are Fifth Amendment issues that you have to protect. That's the way it looks to me. How does it look to you? 817-379-2172. What I keep seeing is people looking away from those who are compromised in various ways. And that willingness to look away / cover up / not report / protect whatever is going on is one-sided. My question would have been when Nathan Wade came back, what did you guys talk about? And he'd have to say none, as in none ya business. Or he would perhaps identify the person that he was talking with. My legal representation believes that. And if that's the truth, if that's what it is, then there are obviously bigger criminal implications on this relationship. What are they? What are they? And oh, by the way, I find it incredibly ironic that this kind of behavior, this exchange of money, this exchange of, bodily fluids, is something that looks a lot like graft and corruption, and yet this is a prosecutor who is bringing racketeering charges against a former president. So this gets back to two tiers of justice and political law enforcement, doesn't it? Or, in the case of this, it appears to be law and enforcement based on what? Protected human beings that have a different standing in society than the rest of us? Because of what? Their political party? Because of their skin color? Is that what's going on? Is that equal protection under the law? It just doesn't look like that to me. How about to you? This has been the Wells Report. I want to thank you very much for being a part of our broadcast. Our telephone number always 817-379-2172. Our email address, thewellsreport@frontier.com. If you send me an email in the subject line, tell me what platform you are watching us on, and thank you so much for being with us as we continue on this Thursday, June 13th, and we will see you again tomorrow for another edition of the Wells Report. Till then, be safe, make great decisions. Thank you so much.